All right. So today was reporting day on Tuesday, 49ers open training camp, and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, as well as Fred Warner and Brock Purdy, met with the media, mostly kind of crossing off the checklist, going through the 49ers situations, some of the stuff that's hanging out there as training camp opens. And probably the top two topics were, as anticipated, Jauan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. Now, let's start off with Jauan Jennings. Jauan Jennings has reported to camp as expected, and it will remain to be seen whether the 49ers have him on the practice field on Wednesday. Now, John Lynch, when asked about the contract situation, he repeated, we love him and he's here. 49ers have said, they expect anybody who's here and who's healthy to practice. But with Jauan Jennings, will he take the approach of being a hold in as opposed to a holdout? He's not a holdout because he's reported. So that is certainly something to keep an eye on Wednesday. And while I'm at it, before I talk about Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers did sign one of the wide receivers that they brought in for a tryout on Monday. That is Equanimous St. Brown. Veteran guy. He's been around. Didn't see too much action last year. I think only 2 games with the Saints, but he comes in because the 49ers have a shortage of wide receivers, with Brandon Ayuk being out, with uncertainty with Jauan Jennings, with Ricky Pearsall on the PUP list. So the 49ers bring in Equanimous St. Brown, veteran guy who should be able to run some routes and, take some reps at a position where there's generally a lot of toll on the body during training camp for those wide receivers who are doing a lot of running. So Equanimous St. Brown joins the 49ers wide receiving core. Jauan Jennings, up in the air as far as what he's going to do when the 49ers practice, but he passed his physical. He's fine. Also, Kyle Shanahan said that he has not requested a trade. So there's that. 49ers and Jauan Jennings representation. Are they angling for a new contract? Obviously, Jauan Jennings would like a new contract to replace the one he signed last year. 49ers have been very non-committal about whether they want to get Jauan Jennings signed to a new deal, an extension. Again, all that John Lynch would say on that topic was, we love him and he's here. 49ers also love Ricky Pearsall, but he reported to training camp last week. He was put on the PUP list because of the hamstring injury, and that seems to be a very short-term thing, as I talked about in the last few days. The idea with the 49ers is, with some of these guys who reported on and were placed on either PUP or the non-football injury list, they're considered kind of short-term things, but the 49ers, whenever a player who's been dealing with something in the offseason reports to training camp, they just want to make sure that 100% ready to go, that they go through an acclimation period because they haven't seen them in a while. They just want to make sure that they don't do anything where they're rushed back onto the field and there could be some issues there. So Ricky Pearsall is in a situation where he had a hamstring injury, didn't practice the last several weeks of the offseason program. He is here, and it certainly sounds like, he's not going to practice on Wednesday, probably won't practice on Thursday or Friday. Those are the 3 non-padded practices before the 49ers take a day off, and then they put the pads on Sunday. What Lynch said was that you will see Pearsall working on a side field along with some of these other guys, the injured guys, the non-ACL guys like Andre Dillard, Yetur Gross-Matos, Ben Barch, the offensive lineman. But it sounds like the 49ers expect these guys to be ready to go, in their words, relatively early in training camp. Pearsall being one of those. Another one, Ben Barch. So he did not have any injury issues during the offseason program, and he's a guy who's considered, along with Nick Zakelj and maybe even Spencer Burford, to be a front runner. The guy's competing for that starting job at left guard, replacing Aaron Banks. Ben Barch had a quad injury during this time away. 49ers being cautious with him. Again, looks like he should be ready to go relatively early. That's a position that 49ers definitely want to get somebody in there quickly and start getting those reps, building that continuity on the 49ers offensive line. So those are some of the injury issues with the 49ers right now. As far as Brandon Ayuk goes, um, everything I've heard, he's doing well in his rehab. But what John Lynch said was something that we've talked a lot about this offseason, is that he did a lot to his knee, meaning it wasn't just a clean ACL. There was the MCL, there was cartilage damage as well. And, they're being very cautious with Brandon Ayuk. And what they've said is that they're not even close to putting a timetable on his return. So it's not that he's not close to returning, it's they're not close to him putting a timetable on his return. So certainly seems to me like the most logical thing would be that he starts the regular season on the PUP list, and that means he's has to miss the first 4 games of the season. Same could be said for Malik Mustafa, projected 49ers starting safety. Because of his knee, it was a clean ACL, but it was a revision from a previous ACL surgery. And so what John Lynch says is that they have to hold him back because he wants to go, but their 49ers aren't ready for him to get back out there again. Maybe the likely scenario would be that he starts the season on PUP. And as I've stated, because week 5 is a short week with no practice time, a Thursday night against the Rams, maybe that week 6 is the more likely option there. So those are some of the injury updates for the 49ers. Some of them, like a lot of these guys who are placed on those lists, are expected back very soon. Brock Purdy came to the podium, talked about integrating those new wide receivers. I mean, the wide receiver room has changed quite a bit in a year's time with no Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk rehabbing, Ricky Pearsall not able to practice right away. So this is a big opportunity for Brock Purdy, who really only threw passes away from the building with Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall among the wide receivers. He also worked with the tight ends, in particular George Kittle and Mason Pline. But this is a big opportunity for Brock Purdy to start getting that chemistry going with the wide receivers who are here. And that includes Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson pled no contest recently to a misdemeanor DUI charge. There is the possibility, as John Lynch explained once again, as he emphasized, that 49ers knew darn well when they signed him that there was a possibility of a suspension. So with Robinson, uncertainty there, 49ers and Brock Purdy in a situation where, the time is kind of clicking now, where he has to do the job of getting up to speed, building chemistry with some of these younger guys. When Pearsall gets on the field, it's building chemistry with him. It's seeing if Jauan Jennings can get out there. And as Brock Purdy said, he hopes everybody figures it out because everybody knows how important Jauan Jennings is to the team. And so getting him out there on the practice field, but also the young guys like Cowing, like Jordan Watkins, and then some other guys, including the new veteran signee, Equanimeous St. Brown. But that's where we are right now with the 49ers as they've reported to training camp. First practice on Wednesday, non-padded practice, and all eyes tomorrow morning when the 49ers take the practice field around 10 a.m. will be, where's number 15? Is number 15, does he have a mysterious calf injury that keeps him off the field? Or is he going to get out there and work with his teammates, practice with Purdy, build the chemistry and all that with the faith shown to the organization that they'll take care of him and give a contract and be able to work out a contract that works for both sides. So right now, when you look at the 49ers leading into the season, the only projected starters who are in the final year of their contract would be Jauan Jennings and Colton McKivitz. Colton McKivitz's name was mentioned on Tuesday as well. There's been no rumblings about any situation with him. It should be noted, Colton McKivitz's agent, his new agent, is the same agent who represents Brock Purdy, Kyle Strongen. So couple of situations there, mostly with Jennings, as far as will he practice? What is his status? as far as would he really request a trade if the sides are unable to get something done. Kind of puts 49ers in a position where you can't imagine that they would trade Jauan Jennings just because of how important he is to the team. And also, what's going to be his trade value at this point in the offseason, where a team that would be interested in him would have to pay the 49ers in draft pick compensation to acquire his rights, while also giving him the contract that he desires, and which, theoretically he wouldn't be able to get from the 49ers. So that's a quick rundown. 49ers report to training camp and first practice scheduled for Wednesday, and should be interesting to see what the team looks like, who's out there on the field. One last thing, Christian McCaffrey, there's going to be a schedule. Kyle Shanahan alluded to a schedule of what they plan for him for this training camp. They want to obviously do the best job possible of making sure that he's healthy now, and he continues to be healthy through training camp and ready to go week 1. So that's a quick rundown from 49ers land in Santa Clara. And that is it for now.